All right, so we are back. Hopefully you guys who are parents out there, hopefully you guys had a good Father's Day over the weekend. Obviously this video is going to be super late when you do see it, but hopefully it was good. So we're back on the STI. This is going to be our first cold start on ethanol. We're currently on E70. Not that bad. So seems like it's actually not too bad. So I had the settings kind of set up already over the weekend, and it seems to be good. So it's a little bit on the rich side. So we're using the regular 93 for the cold start, but it seems good. So I think we're going to be good to go there. I'll let her kind of come up to temp. But remember, this thing sat since Saturday till now. So it's had a couple days. You know, obviously it's not super cold. It's 29C, whatever that works out to be, which I'm assuming about 80 or so. All right, so we got the car up to temp. We've got some ignition timing added. So we're doing pretty good here. Our 93 numbers is 330, but we're 378 now on E85. So I do want to mention though that we're still running 14 pounds of boost. So we're still within the safe region. Injector duty cycle is like 80%-ish run there. So the only thing that I've been doing is actually been optimizing AVCS and ignition timing is all I've been doing. But you can see where it's starting to fall off on steam here. Around the 6,500 mark here. So basically 6,000 is kind of the peak of it in terms of where power goes. Now we can rev out to 7, but you can see that revving out past 65, it just doesn't really make any more steam. So I'm going to add a little bit more timing at the end here just to try to smooth this area out, but there's no promises that it's actually going to do anything. So the numbers are looking pretty damn good. And mind you that we're seeing like 16 pounds of boost right now, and we're almost touching the 400 marker. So we've been adding more and more ignition timing, and because of that, it's automatically adding a little bit more boost because the engine's running a little bit more efficiently, and the turbo itself is probably breaking in just because that we're actually now being able to actually drive it. So I don't know how many runs I've got. I've got quite a bit of runs, but we're going to start turning up the boost now. So you guys may or may not remember, but last time I think 18 or 19 PSI was the limit of it, of how much injector we had left. So I've upped the timing just a little bit in that area, just a little. All right, so we did in fact make a good bit of power, but we do have an error here. And that error is that we've maxed out the injector duty cycle. So I'm gonna go through, take a look at the log and just see what all happened. All right, so a little bit more boost. We've broken the 400 horsepower marker. So I think we're good to go there. I mean, realistically, it only made a little bit more power. So I think we'll let it cool down, maybe do another run. We'll probably do another run, add a little bit more timing up top, just to see if we get any noticeable torque gains, which we're not seeing at the moment. So I'll bring up a little bit more timing up top and just go from there. All right, so we've let it cool down pretty good. We're over the 400 horsepower mark, and we're kind of striding on over 350 torque, and that honestly makes me quite a bit nervous. But this is a sended map. So go ahead and get this thing started up. I'm going to leave timing as is. I'm not going to touch it anymore. We're just gonna do one more log with it cooled down, but I think we're good to go. So we'll let the coolant come up a little bit more to operating temp, and then we'll do one last blast, and hopefully the core holds together. We basically are running, let's see how much timing we're running up top. So we're running about 22 degrees up top. And we're running about, let's see how much boost we're making here. So we've got about 120 kPa, which ends up being 17.5 psi. And that's still relatively safe in terms of injector duty cycle. So we're right at the limit of injector duty cycle. We could push a little bit harder, but again, I'm under the assumption that this is a stock like RA block or something like that. I don't want to find out the hard way and put it all together. So now we've got that all set. We'll set that up as this kill map. So here are our 3 runs. Our best on pump, our best at 14 psi on E85, and our best at 17 psi. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're going to, let's remove these really quick here. That way you guys can see. Now, so the curve looks like crap on 93, and remember, just like I said before, maybe not in this video, 93 is like it's, you know, can't get E85 map. So we wanted something that was going to be good, that the car would run great, wouldn't make a ton of power, but it would run okay. And this ended up at 330 and 300 foot-pounds of torque. So this is our best run on 14 psi, and I think 14 psi, I think it's a little bit aggressive, because up top we are running like 23 to 24 degrees of timing, I think, on this map, and it is pretty close to 400 horsepower, and it's right at 350 foot-pounds of torque, and that's kind of like where I think the edge of reliability on a stock EJ is really. It does taper a little bit at the very end here, but as you can see, it's not really making power above 60 to 6,000 RPMs really, so it's kind of good there. We could have the boost holding out a little bit further, and it might smooth out this curve a little bit more, but I can't really justify it. And so this here is the final run at 22 degrees of timing, and we're running about, I think this is the 17-18 psi mark, and you can see that our power here is 417 and 480 foot-pounds of torque, and it's a bit aggressive in my opinion. Again, I'm not too terribly concerned about it, because normally Subarus make peak torque in this general vicinity here, so you'll see that the torque is way up here, but the torque is way later on in the RPMs, so I think it's going to be relatively safe-ish. But this is his quote-unquote kill map, so he does know that, you know, he will run the risk of popping it at this type of power. So we got a few more things set up on the laptop. We got gear position working correctly. There was just a little bit of calibration on the speed tables here, but more importantly, I had to sit down and just kind of rack my brain on how to do this. So I wasn't able to get closed loop boost control working, but I was able to get like the Sport Sharp Sport and the I mode working on 3 separate tables. And what I ended up doing was I interpolated the tables based off of ethanol content. So they're not perfect. It's definitely not closed loop, so it won't make any adjustment, but we still have gear, IAT, and ECT adjustment, and I think that's going to be good enough. It's just a limitation, unless there's a better way of doing it that I don't know. But all the tables have an ethanol blended table. That I've got to go through and kind of figure out. And basically the duty cycle will change based off of ethanol content, and then the duty cycle itself will change depending on which mode that you're in. So I've got that all figured out, I hope, fingers crossed. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna test it here shortly. So unfortunately, I don't have a way of holding the camera right now. I've got to hold the steering wheel, unfortunately, for all-wheel drive, but we're gonna go ahead and test it. We're gonna test it backwards. We're gonna test Sport Sharp, Sport, then I mode. And the reason is that, you know, the ITs are gonna heat up really, really quickly. So we're going to try to prevent to do any unnecessary needed damage, which we won't anyways, but I don't want to beat up on the car too much. All right, so here's everything broken down here for the most part. So this red run here, 327 and 300 foot-pounds of torque, that actually is our hero run from 93. That means that the car was completely cool, wasn't beat on, and that was the best numbers that it made. This next run, this yellow run here, has 21 psi, also a hero run, meaning that, again, the car was completely cool before we did that run, and that netted us 425 and almost 400 foot-pounds of torque. After that, I subsequently ran 2 other runs. This one is our 14 psi run on E85, of course, and netted us 313 and 290. And this one is actually our 16 psi run, which netted us 393, but as you can see, the torque is down substantially from where it was before. And so I think that's a good livable map. This 16 psi run was also a hero run. I let it completely cool down and then did a run. The 14 psi one though, the numbers are a little skewed just because that was not the hero run. I basically ran 21, then 14 basically back to back to see where it was actually at. Now, what I do not like about this is that the sheer fact that this is open loop boost control. I could not find a way to get closed loop working with the 3 separate modes. With flex fuel and again the 3 separate modes, there's just no way that I could really get flex fuel to work or closed loop boost control to work correctly. So unfortunately, that's just going to be, it is what it is. I'll let the customer know that he's going to have to work that out. And now, so basically I'm basically done here. I'm going to put some 93 octane into the car. That's going to drop our ethanol content. I believe we were at E66 or E67, and it's going to drop down. Hopefully it's going to be down to like E30 or so, and then I'll test it again, and just to make sure that everything is safe. We're not too concerned about the numbers. The key is just making sure that everything is nice and safe.